Bible verse appeared on the stage screen. Satan is known as the accuser of the brethren. The well-dressed televangelist drew nearer, his expression betraying genuine concern. The Daystar Television Network viewers heard Rick Renner say, "This is the enemy's #1 weapon against the church." Viewers had no idea that the network routinely used this Bible verse to attack anyone who dared to challenge the Lamb family's leadership. Former employees and contractors of the Christian media firm have been relating remarkably consistent tales for quite some time. Concerns regarding financial transparency, workplace harassment, and family issues were not addressed. Like Satan's followers today who aim to harm God's elect, they were referred to as attackers. Now that it's easy to see this trend, watchdog organizations like Ohio for Freedom monitor it like hurricane warning signs. Renner promoted his 2005 book, Last Days Survival Guide, on Joni Lamb's Table Talk. A surprising turn was taken by the conversation. What started out as an explanation of how to avoid taking responsibility for one's actions became a lesson in deflection in no time at all. Skeptics noted that Renner was enjoying herself while criticizing the culture of charge on social media. The episode aired amid mounting claims regarding the network's handling of abuse cases and investigations into Joni Lamb's hasty remarriage to Doug Weiss following Marcus Lamb's death. This isn't a novel tactic. Prior to his sexual misconduct accusations, former IHOP KC CEO Mike Bickle used the same accuser of the brethren language. It was utilized by Perry Stone during his investigation into alleged financial crimes. Daystar now employs it in their battles with ex-members like Jonathan and Susie Lamb, who opposed Joni's new marriage by citing religious grounds. I don't get the joke. It is the accusers, not the worry-mongers, who are the targets of these biblical warnings. The network shows promote radical transparency, yet Daystar's legal history includes secret deals with former employees and whispered discussions about non-disclosure agreements. They'll film themselves giving cars to strangers, but they won't say where the money really goes, a former cinematographer said. Although Daystar's philanthropic work in Israel is commendable, some have questioned why the network doesn't address American issues such as the plight of those affected by recent natural disasters in North Carolina and California. Asks commentator James White, "Where's the telethon for them?" at one point. One possible explanation for the omission is the variety of donors. People in one country don't start wondering who's to blame when a global crisis occurs. Multiple investigation barrier is dismantling. Efforts to outlaw non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, in abuse cases were spearheaded by survivors of the IHOP KC. Consequences include parallel initiatives aimed at major religious media outlets. Systems are safeguarded by institutions. A tipster named Tammy Woods told the Roy's Report that survivors shield others. While penning her resignation letter, Rachel's hands trembled. As a Daystar director for 7 years, I've noticed some discrepancies between the TV show and the actual events. In response to her request for evidence that church funds were being diverted for private family vacations, her supervisor cited Revelation 12:10, which refers to the accuser of the brethren. What was being told to her was crystal clear, that Satan used her curiosity to further his agenda. As a last resort, religious groups under scrutiny have turned to spiritual gaslighting, in which legitimate concerns are transformed into accusations from malevolent spirits. Employees who left the company recount feeling psychologically compelled to remain silent about misconduct, for fear of being labeled a Jezebel spirit who undermined God's work. The end outcome? A culture where the belief in a higher power justifies and condones abusive behavior. And there's a well-planned paradox in the content on Daystar. Big gifts are used on the radio to inspire listeners to be extremely generous, While executives accept six-figure sums for interior design work on Lamb family homes, multiple sources claim that executives scold employees for minor expenses off-air. This exemplifies a disturbing tendency in Christian media. Individuals are using the gospel of wealth as a cover to enrich themselves. Financial monitoring ministries have detected some peculiar patterns. For instance, leaders of Daystar have been known to purchase mansions concurrently with their Build the Kingdom initiatives. Reporters who inquire are met with a response that is eerily similar to none of your business. No touching the one chosen by God. How favoritism taints faith groups is illustrated by the Lamb family's story. Many predicted a leadership transition symbolizing the network's global reach following Marcus Lamb's death in 2021. Despite Jonathan Lamb's animosity toward his mother's new husband, the family's position of power remained unchanged. Those in the know say it's very royal court-like, with unspoken loyalty tests for non-family leaders. I recognize the Lamb family as the spiritual covering God appointed for this ministry was a peculiar oath that former department heads claimed they were required to sign. A refusal meant firing without provocation. Such demands blur the line between religious observance and cult-like manipulation. The paper record of Daystar contains the most damning evidence. At least 12 private settlements with former employees have been documented in court records since 2015. They were all strongly advised not to discuss the deals with anyone. These papers have some disturbing connections, similar to the Catholic Church's abuse crisis, but using evangelical language, according to legal experts. The tactics remain unchanged, but they are rebranded as spiritual warfare against accusers of the brethren. This isn't a debate about religious doctrine. Rather, it's an open conflict over the ways in which different faiths deal with questions of validity, disputes, and accusations of sin. The network must choose between airing its biblical messages of repentance and honesty or continuing to call critics demons. When compared to other failed faith institutions, this one shares many characteristics. Using more religious language, Daystar's response to accusations resembles the way the Catholic Church handled abuse issues. Victims claim that they were led astray by Bible verses about not touching God's special people. Non-disclosure agreements are peddled as a means to reconcile with God, and legal settlements are couched in religious language. The term spiritual division describes those who expose financial wrongdoing, while accounting irregularities describes those who mishandle funds. This issue has arisen at a crucial juncture for Christian media. Modern, tech-savvy Christians are suspicious of autocratic regimes and want alternative standards for determining responsibilities. Acting religiously to cover up systemic issues is no longer satisfying them. Thanks to movements like Church 2 and watchdog organizations like the Roy's Report, the truth has been able to break through the usual barriers. At this juncture, Daystar's top brass must decide between two courses of action. The danger of relying too much on existing methods to safeguard institutions is that they will become obsolete more quickly. The younger generation, which prioritizes authenticity over superficiality, will increasingly perceive these networks as relics of an abandoned religious industrial complex. A path to transformation through repentance? It would necessitate alterations beyond merely aesthetic ones. It necessitates dismantling procedures that prioritize the organization over individuals. To show genuine contrition, one must publicly investigate the events, alter the way their government is run, and repay more than what is legally required. Now, more than ever, the stakes are high. These days, religious groups can't simply buy TV time to control stories. Everything, from lectures to scandals, is online forever. Daystar's response will determine whether it ushers in a new era of accountable ministry or exemplifies the dangers that can arise when organizations prioritize their own survival over God's will. More than just Daystar's fate is at stake here. The question at hand is whether evangelical media can overcome the current distrust that exists within it. The network will demonstrate its understanding of the importance of living by its beliefs rather than producing a well-made show in today's world by its next move. The resemblances to previous system errors are undeniable. Secret settlements protected by non-disclosure agreements, complaints about personality traits were reframed, substituting compassion gifts for remuneration. Power structures remain in place as victims are compelled to remain silent due to this spiritualized obstruction of justice. The plan has been altered due to the digital age. By utilizing social media, whistleblowers can disseminate their message in a way that is unfettered by institutions. The Roy's Report and other watchdog organizations, as well as survivors movements like Church 2, are illuminating the system's current flaws. The crowd is no longer locked up, even though Daystar may still have cameras rolling. Their gaze is fixed on what happens tomorrow is contingent upon Daystar's comprehension of this change. Is it going to cling to antiquated, inefficient methods of control, or usher in an era of transparency? Whether it remains a valuable mission or becomes yet another instance of Christian media's decline in influence will be revealed by the answer. More than just well-crafted words are required for reform to actually work. It demands the dismantling of systems that prioritize the survival of institutions over human beings. There is less and less time. There has been a disturbing trend among younger Christians to associate these networks with negativity rather than optimism. Daystar must make a choice. Will it be remembered for its continued abuse of power or for its terrible break with tradition? The truth is starting to emerge. The decision will determine its impact.